Welcome back to Global Village. I'm Buddy Kunana. Tonight's topic is Brazil Sensational. And joining us still is none other than the Ambassador of Brazil to the Philippines, His Excellency Rodrigo do Amaral Souza. Ambassador, welcome back to our second segment. Now, we showed a nice video before we came on, and that was a video that highlighted this area of your country called Rio Grande do Sul. And from the video, it looks like a very dynamic, very happening place. Huh?
That's right. Rio Grande do Sul is at the far south of Brazil. It's the state of our cowboys. That's where some of our finest meat can be found. And it has a very unique culture because they share even some words with, with Argentina and Uruguay. And they drink the mate or the chimarrão.
The tea.
The tea,
yes.
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 And also they use some expressions in Spanish, which is something that you will find only in Rio Grande do Sul.
Yes, and it's just one portion of your country, but it just highlights the diversity that you have over there. I said, you saw the video, German, Spanish, Italian,
That's right.
African.
Well, Rio Grande do Sul, for instance, is a state dominated by European immigration. If you go to Bahia, in the northeast of Brazil, you will notice a very powerful black influence.
Yes.
You'll feel almost like you were in Africa.
How fascinating.
Yeah,
how
because
fascinating.
it's very diverse.
Yes, and I saw from the video, not just a lot of good meat, but also good wine. Apparently
Good wine.
done by, most probably by the Italians who migrated there.
That's right.
Very good.
Our best wine is produced in Rio Grande do Sul, by Italians mostly.
Yes. How come we don't see too much Brazilian wine in the international market? It's more, when you talk about South America, New World South American wines, you talk about automatically Chile, Argentina.
Chile and Argentina mostly, Uruguay as well.
Yes.
We don't have a tradition of exporting. We do export to some countries, but our production is limited. Our consumption of wine is much more reduced than in Argentina or Uruguay or Chile. And Chile especially has found a very interesting combination of quality and price. And they have been successful in exporting. Even here in the Philippines, it's very easy to find Chilean wine.
And inexpensive. And for the price and the quality, I have to say they are very hard to compete with.
That's the reason of their success.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay.
But Brazilians, speaking of alcoholic beverages, we love beer in Brazil. So Brazil, I think it's the second country in the world in consumption of beer, behind the US. Of course, we can compare to Germany because our population is much larger than the population in Germany.
Is there one dominant beer company in Brazil?
Yes,
like we have here at San Miguel. But
yes, there is. There is a kind of a conglomerate
yes.
that controls the three dominant brands of beer in Brazil. It's called Ambev.
Okay. Okay, very good, very good. Now, Ambassador, let's talk about Brazil's relationship with Asia to start. Are we on the radar of Brazil? Because Brazil is so far away. If you think about it, just getting there is quite an effort, really, compared to flying to other places. Yeah, unfortunately. How does Brazil view Asia?
Well, Asia is definitely on our radar. It's the continent of the future. And I think we have been trying to intensify our relations, not only with our main partners and traditional partners in the region, like China, like India, like Japan, like South Korea, but we have also intensified our efforts of coming closer together with Southeast Asia.
Yes.
And in this sense, Mercosur and ASEAN could be the blocks of the building blocks to have a new and more dynamic relationship between the two regions.
Yes. Now, between the Philippines and Brazil, what is the status of our relationship?
Well, we have established diplomatic relations since 1946, since the independence,
yes.
formal independence of the Philippines. We had a Brazilian representative during that celebration, 4th of July, 1946, that marked the formal independence of the Philippines.
Really?
We have opened our embassy in Manila in 1970. And we have reached an agreement to waive visas for tourism back in the 70s. So today, if a Filipino wants to go to Brazil as a tourist, he doesn't need to get a visa.
Wow, bravo.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful.
But you had mentioned the geographical distance.
Yes, yes.
That's really a barrier to a more intense cooperation.
Yes.
I think that we have an understanding in both countries, in Brazil as well as in the Philippines, that we must overcome the lack of knowledge of each other. And so we are trying to do very hard work in the cultural area. For instance, trying to foster the teaching of Portuguese here, and trying to make our movies, our cinema, our literature more well known in the Philippines.
How are you encouraging the instruction of Portuguese in the Philippines? Who is your target market for that?
Well, we have been targeting the universities. There is already a Portuguese course at the University of the Philippines.
Okay, nice.
And we're trying to widen it to other universities.
Ambassador, okay, let's say if you're speaking to a student today, and that student has an option to study all 5, 6 different languages, why choose Portuguese? How would you sell it?
Because Brazil is not the only country that speaks Portuguese. Of course, besides Portugal and Brazil, there are 5 countries in Africa that share the Portuguese language, and one country relatively close to the Philippines, East Timor.
Yes,
they also speak Portuguese there. And as you said, Brazil is one of the 10 largest economies in the world. And we are very interested in diversifying our relations and expanding our cooperation with Asia and with Southeast Asia. So we need people who can specialize in Brazil. And if they master the language, well, that opens the doors.
Absolutely. And it's a beautiful language, Portuguese. I mean, I'm a big fan of fado music. Okay. And how alive is fado? And is it alive in Brazil, that's Portuguese tradition?
No, it's not so popular in Brazil. For instance, tango, which is the music of our neighboring country, Argentina, is much more popular in Brazil. But in Brazil, the Portuguese literature, I think, it's very strong. People love the great Portuguese writers and poets like Camões, like Fernando Pessoa, and they are very popular. Yeah. And there is a brand of modern Portuguese music that is beginning to get traction in Brazil.
Okay. And I understand, we're talking about Philippine-Brazilian relations, that an MOU was signed a few years ago for sports cooperation between Brazil and the Philippines. I hope that, as you know, you're probably aware that soccer or football is not viewed as the main sport of the Philippines. Sadly, it's basketball. But we could definitely use a lot of improvement in the area of football. Yeah. And Brazil being the best, one of the best or the best football nation in the world, help in that sense would be most welcome.
We think that sports are a very powerful way of not only of intensifying cooperation between countries, but of to integrate, for example, poor people into society, of trying to make them away from dangerous things, away from drugs, for instance. Yes. Because sports, they disseminate principles and values that are very important, like teamship, like discipline, like respect, cooperation for one another.
Yes.
And in the Philippines, unfortunately, I noticed that football is not so popular as in many other parts of the world. And we have been trying to send some coaches and even professional players to the Philippines. But the professional Philippine league is still in its initial stages.
Yes.
I think that last year, 2017, was the first year of the newly formed league, professional league.
Yes.
We had one Brazilian that was that had a contract with one of the clubs, but he had to return to Brazil. What we have been trying to do is to send coaches for a limited period of time, and from time to time to send here important players, ex-players, former players. For instance, some weeks ago, one of our best players ever, Zico, he was an idol back in the 80s. He played for Flamengo. He came here to direct a clinic for youngsters.
Oh, wow, very
yes,
good.
From people from 13 to 16 years of age. And, and he met the people from the Philippine League and some of the players that are in your national team.
Yes.
And wow, that was a very exciting moment.
We've got a few minutes to close, Ambassador. I just want a follow-up question to football, since we're on the topic of football. What makes you guys so good in football? What is it about the Brazilian character that makes you so successful in
football in Brazil is a passion. So every kid in Brazil receives a football as a gift from their fathers when he's born, receives a jersey of his future team, of course, of his father's team.
Wow.
And it's a topic that is discussed by all families during weekends. So it's almost mandatory for a guy to be interested in football.
Yeah.
And so everyone loves the game, from the rich to the poor. It's a shared passion in all segments of the society.
Again, passion.
That's the reason. That explains why we have so many talents.
Again, passion and a sense of nationhood. It brings the people together. Football, like your language, like your common history.
I will mention an example. When the time comes for the World Cup, every 4 years, when Brazil plays against other national team during the World Cup, everything stops in the country. It's like a national holiday.
Very good, Ambassador. Sir, we have to pause for a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, tourism and culture, and all the fun things to do in Brazil. And I know you have no shortage of fun things to do in Brazil. So we're going to hang around for that. Now, guys, stick around because more of Brazil Sensational when Global Village returns.
Brazil is preparing to welcome you. We've tidied up the garden, expanded the kitchen. We've built the party rooms, planned the lighting, and organized the living room. The stage is being prepared for the sporting events in Brazil. Come on over. You'll feel right at home. The world meets in Brazil. Come celebrate life.